Welcome to Death, Lies, and Alibis. I'm your host, Christy, and this is the podcast that dives deep into the dark and eerie world of local cold cases. Today, we're in Marysville, a small, lovely city nestled in the heart of Ohio. It's bustling with tight-knit neighborhoods, friendly faces, and a sense of security that you expect from any small town. But beneath the idyllic surface lies a hidden darkness, a collection of unanswered questions that has lingered over the years. So grab your headphones, lock your doors, and be prepared to enter a world where the truth has invaded everyone. There's a sound that sticks to you when you walk out of the Honda plant at midnight in Marysville. Not just a buzz of machines powering down. It's a vibration. Low, steady, it hums in your chest and your ears long after you clock out. The smell of hot oil, grease, and sweat clings to everything. Your hair, your clothes, your lungs. It's the smell of survival, of a paycheck earned. Most nights, walking out that door meant one thing: freedom. You head home, kick off the boots, and crawl into bed. The grind's over, at least until tomorrow. But not for Patty Atkins. This wasn't just another Friday night. This was the night, the one she'd been waiting on for years. She clocked out, tossed her teal duffel bag over her shoulder, and she was smiling. Not a small smile, not the polite kind you give someone at work. No, this was different. This was a secret smile, the kind you can't hide when you know your whole life is about to change. She had boarded her cats, left cash for a little girl, packed light because he told her to, and Patty trusted him. She handed over everything: her time, her trust, her safety, her future. And then silence. No calls, no texts, and no trail. One moment, she thought she was stepping into her new life, and instead, she may have walked straight into betrayal. Friday night, June 29th, 2001. By the time second shift let out, Patty Atkins was already half gone. Not half gone like tired, gone like in her head. She was somewhere else already. Canada, cabins, a future she'd been promised. For years, she waited on this man. Always excuses, always delays, always someday. But tonight, she believed him. Patty wasn't some done woman. She was 29 years old, a single mom. Her daughter was her whole world. She had a supervisor's job at Honda, steady and dependable. She owned her own home, and she kept her word, showed up. She was the kind of woman people noticed if she was 5 minutes late. And that night, walking across the floor in her Honda uniform, with steel-toed sneakers, white shirt with a red patch that read Patty, she was so happy. Her step had energy in it because she was carrying more than her teal duffel bag. She was carrying a secret. She claimed to be seeing a guy from work. Now, he wasn't single. He wasn't free yet, but he promised the waiting was over. He told her, pack light, don't bring your ID, don't bring any credit cards. I'll take care of everything. And Patty did as he said. Before leaving, she made sure everything was handled. Her cats, they were boarded. Her daughter was safe with her sister. Money was left behind for any needs. The plans were covered. To her little girl, Mom was just going away for the holiday. Patty stepped into the parking lot, bag a-swinging, heart a-racing. What she was really walking into was a night that would never end. Just after midnight, the Honda plant spilled out, second shift. Hundreds of boots hitting the pavement. The parking lot lit up like a stage, harsh floodlights slicing through the dark. Most people walked toward their cars thinking about bed, the weekend, the holiday. No one realized this few minutes would be the last anyone would see Patty Atkins alive. Witnesses say that she was seen walking toward a truck, the same truck linked to Brian Flowers, the man Patty had been reportedly seeing, the man she believed she was spending the week with. Now, here's the truth about Patty. She had her life together, and she didn't need Brian. What she wanted was him. And according to her friends, that started back in 2000. Her friend Heidi remembered Patty couldn't stop talking about him. By Thanksgiving that year, Patty was telling her sister she finally had someone to be excited about, someone she wanted to plan a real getaway with. Her sister remembered Patty as flat out love struck. She wasn't hiding it either. She was giddy, talking about cabins, about finally having time for just the two of them. But it wasn't about love only. There was money tied into this too. $90,000. $90,000, folks. According to her family and friends, Patty had given Brian around $90,000 over time. Money she believed was help building a future together. She thought she was buying his freedom. She thought she was investing in the love of her life. And those thoughts, well, maybe that's what made her step into the truck that night, smiling, hopeful, and trusting, not knowing that every red flag was about to catch fire. Now, sources say Patty waited for him for years, listened to the excuses, held on to the promises, and still, she loved him. So when he said the waiting was finally over, she believed. And when he promised they were going away together, she put her faith in his promises. To Patty, this felt like the start of her love story. Now, as for Brian, well, some would later wonder if it looked more like a setup for an ending. Now, here's where things get messy. Patty's family thought she was headed to Canada. That's what she told them, a week away at a cabin. But when her friend dropped her at work, she was told that Patty was going to Virginia Beach instead. 2 stories, 2 destinations. And then, a strange detail that came up later, that night Brian's truck reportedly had something new. A solid locking truck bed cover, snapped tight, concealing whatever was inside. And another friend recalled Patty telling her she'd have to hide in the back of Brian's truck after work. Hide. Why? Well, because he was giving another coworker a ride home. And according to Patty, he didn't want anyone knowing he was leaving with her. Now think about that. A grown woman, a supervisor, a mom, climbing into the back of a truck bed like cargo just to keep their secret. To some, that doesn't look like love. It looks like control. And then, nothing. No late night call to her sister. No check-in with her little girl. No swipe of her cards and no cash from her bank. The mom who kept every promise. The sister who always showed up. She just didn't. She never came home. She never came back for her little girl. And in that hole, the red flags start piling up. By July 8th, 9 days later, Patty's sister, Marcia, couldn't take it anymore. She went to Patty's house herself. Her car was still sitting in the garage, and her purse and her ID were untouched inside. But that teal duffel bag, it was still gone. Her cats, though, they were still boarded. Her daughter was still with family. None of this made sense. The silence got so loud, they said it felt crushing. Now that's when Janine, Patty's other sister, did what nobody else had the guts to do. She picked up the phone and she called Brian's wife. Imagine that moment. The weight in her voice, the risk, and even saying Patty's name out loud. Up until then, it had been whispers on the Honda floor. Rumors, side eyes. But Janine dragged it into the open. Did the wife already know? Did she suspect her husband had another life? Or was that call the first time those words bled straight into her home? Well, either way, the secret wasn't a secret anymore. And once it was cracked open, Brian's story just started to crumble. According to police reports, Brian told investigators he couldn't have been involved because right after work, he said he drove straight home with coworker riding shotgun. And they stopped at Burger King, sat in the drive-thru for 45 minutes waiting for food. That, he said, was his alibi, and his coworker, Donnie Thompson, reportedly backed him up. But when investigators pulled the receipts, that Burger King rang up only $18 worth of sales in that entire window. The manager swore that wait time was 5 minutes, 10 at the max. Brian said he was there, but the paper trail told another story, and the red flags kept stacking up. The Union County Sheriff's Office moved quick once Patti was reported missing. They did question Brian and they searched his truck. They interviewed coworkers, and every thread they could pull, they pulled. At one point, investigators even went so far as to dig up a concrete slab in Brian's backyard, but nothing came of it. But the fact that they felt the need to even look there, I think that says a lot about where suspicion was pointing. Now, they also found items that tied Patti to Brian and his house, a birthday card signed by Patti, though Brian reportedly told detectives it was from coworkers. Also, there was a T-shirt, one that Patti, according to Patti's sister Marcia, Patti had bought for him on Florida vacation that they took together, that Patti and Marcia took together. Now, slowly a picture began to take shape, but unfortunately, there's no evidence strong enough to take hold. Because here's the ugly truth. Without a body, charges like murder almost never stick. Now, there's no sign of Patti after that parking lot. No goodbye call, no withdrawals, no trace of her. Just a trail of red flags pointing back to one man. And Brian? Well, his behavior told its own story. According to reports, he denied the relationship, even while coworkers were confirming it. He lawyered up almost instantly. He failed a polygraph, and witnesses said he never joined the searches, never acted like a man desperate to find her. His wife gave him an alibi, saying he was home with her all night and into the next day. And then there was his truck. Investigators said Brian admitted he had bought a brand new bed cover on June 26, 3 days before Patti vanished. Installed it the morning of June 29th, the very day Patti vanished. And by July 8th, the day her sister reported her missing, he removed it. When detectives searched that truck, this is what they found. Drops of blood. They were his own, so for now, it's useless as any evidence. But listen to this. They found cat hair. DNA matched it to Patti's cat's, even though she had boarded him that same day. That hair had no business being in this truck, unless Patti and the clothes she was wearing have been in there too. Now, detectives' reports also noted fresh scratches on Brian's arms, raw, new, and hard to explain away. And before long, Brian was gone, out of Honda and out of sight. Investigators said the timing raised more suspicions, and to some, it looked less like a coincidence and more like a panic. Now let's talk about money. $90,000 of it. That's how much Patti reportedly handed over to Brian across the course of their relationship. Not a gift and not a handout. She expected it back. Family members say it was almost always in cash. Yeah, so it was untraceable. She borrowed against her 401, she drained her accounts, and she even took out a second mortgage on her home. Why? Why would she do this? Because she believed she was buying a future with him. But just before she disappeared, friends say Patti confided that something had to change. She told him he needed to start repaying these loans. She was starting to feel the pressure on her end. And for Brian, well, sources say that was a problem. A married man, allegedly living a double life, now staring down $90,000 worth of exposure. The kind of debt that was embarrassing, and it was mostly dangerous. It threatened to blow his secret world apart. And for Patti, that money was stability. And for investigators, looking at Brian, it raised a haunting question. Could it have been a motive? See, here's the thing. Patti didn't need Brian. She had a great job. She was raising her daughter and she owned her own home. She wasn't looking for a provider. She was looking for a partner. And when she handed him money, she thought she was investing in a life that they were going to build together. Family members say that she really, truly believed that. But Brian let her believe that. Allegedly, he accepted it and he spent it. And for a married man juggling two lives, that $90,000 wasn't just a debt. It was a ticking time bomb. Because once it came out, it wouldn't just expose his wallet. It would expose the affair and the lies and the double lie. Investigators, they did dig into his finances. And what they found, well, those records are still sealed to death. What we do know is this. Brian Flowers had means, and he had opportunity. And according to investigators, he had motive. For Patty's family, time hasn't healed a damn thing. It's sharpened it. Because when someone disappears, you just don't lose someone once. See, you lose them again and again at birthdays and graduations and holidays. Every moment that Patty should have been there. And the hardest part is her daughter. She was 7 years old. 7. Old enough to remember her mom's laugh. Old enough to feel that something was wrong. Old enough to grow up with a hole where her mother should have been. She grew up with stories instead of memories. A mom described in past tense. An empty chair at the table. A silence that echoed louder every year. Now, for her sisters and her friends and other family members, the fight never stopped. They chased tips, pressed detectives, and held vigils. They put up billboards. They refused to let Patty's name fade, because fading would feel like losing her all over again. The years dragged on, and in 2006, 5 years after Patty vanished, her family had to do the unthinkable, declare her legally dead. On paper, it was just paperwork, a formality to manage her estate. But in the hearts, it felt like burying her without a body, signing away hope. Even then, though, they never stopped believing one thing. Patty didn't vanish. Someone knows the truth. And 24 years is a long time. People move, people forget, the secrets don't. If someone has allegedly carried this for 2 decades, it's still sitting heavy. And one day, according to her family, it will come out. Strip this case down, and one name has long been at the center. Brian Flowers, the man Patty was reportedly seeing in secret. The married man she thought she was spending the week with. And according to investigators and reports, he told her to pack light, no ID and no cards. I'll take care of everything. And she trusted him. So what about the classic 3 here? Means. Well, he had the truck. That new cover was reportedly installed just days before she disappeared. And inside, remember, the investigators said they found cat hair matching Patty's cat's. Hair that shouldn't have been there. Let's talk about motive. Family members and friends have said Patty loaned him money, up to $90,000, and she expected repayment. Opportunity. Friday night, an empty parking lot, his truck waiting. Another co-worker, Donnie Thompson, was reportedly there too, and he did pass a polygraph. Folks, we honestly have nothing other than he might have been dragged into this unknowingly. But his presence still raises questions about Brian's versions of events. Now, there's no cameras, no witnesses, just Patty seen walking toward that truck. And then, silence. People don't just vanish. Not without means, not without motive, and not without opportunity. For over 2 decades, Patty's case has sat in limbo, passed from one detective to another. Her picture is taped to cold desk. Her file is shuffled around like old paperwork. But now, something is different. This time, the law enforcement has got backup. A full-time investigator from the Union County's prosecutor office. Fresh eyes, fresh energy. Every statement reread. Every timeline re-walked. Every piece of evidence run with new tech that didn't exist in 2001. Sheriff Justice told me in an interview.
You are completely correct regarding a full-time investigator looking at the case again. When I took over as sheriff, one of my goals was to look at all of our old cases, which included Patty's case. Although I am not sure when the entire review will be completed, the investigator is looking at the entire case from start to finish. The prosecutor and I have been kept up to date regarding the case, and it is certainly being reinvestigated.
Isn't that great, folks? because 24 years changes a lot, but the truth doesn't. And her family makes sure Patti stays visible. Now, her face stares down Route 4 from a giant billboard, missing since June 29, 2001. That billboard doesn't whisper, it screams. It tells whoever holds the secret, this case isn't going away. If Patty's story touched you, don't let it die out when the show's over. Talk about her, share her story, say her name out loud. And if you know something, anything, no matter how small it feels, speak it. Because secrets don't protect the innocent, they only shield the guilty. Patty trusted the wrong man, but her story deserves the right ending, and that's justice and truth. Before I close, just a quick reminder, everyone named in this episode is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I'm not a lawyer, a detective, or a medical expert. I gather very public information. I present it to you for you to do your own research and form your own opinions. Death, Lies, and Alibis is for educational and entertainment purposes only. And that's it for this episode of Death, Lies, and Alibis. We hope that by shining a light on these local crimes, we spark something within you, our listeners. Because the truth is, solving these cases will take more than just our words. It's going to require the dedication and collective efforts of the entire community. Don't forget to hit the follow button on the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. To learn more about how to get your case featured on the show, or to get instant access to the case files and reports, plus documents and many free resources, go to our Facebook group, Death, Lies, and Alibis, and join today. Or email us at deathliesalibis@gmail.com. As always, be safe, stay alert, and never stop seeking justice.